We've built a way to help producers show the audience what stories are coming up next in their broadcast. Normally when broadcasters do this, they have a bunch of money or a bunch of staff they've hired to run a system like this. And the great part about Vidpresso is it doesn't take either of those things.
So let me show you exactly how it works. On the left, we have a sidebar example, and over here we have a ticker example across the bottom. Now, we've built it with a couple principles in mind. Number one is that the on-air presentation needs to be completely custom. So the ones we're showing here are for example, but what we want to have happen is you to build your own on-air branding so that you're totally happy with the on-air product. Essentially, your graphic artist can come up with the look in After Effects, upload it into our system, and then we'll take it and translate it into something that looks great. The second is that our system should work with a variety of newsroom systems. We use the MOS protocol, which works with AP's ENPS, as well as other software like iNews, Octopus, or Rundown Creator. Lastly, our software doesn't require anyone else except the producer to do the job. There's no operators, no one else who needs to babysit it. Essentially, once it's set up, it should just work. Alright, so let's talk about how the producer uses the system. You'll notice here we've added a rundown headline column. This column has one entry for every item that would appear in the on-air rundown. So this is one, this is another, and these directly correspond with the text that you're seeing in our example looks. After the producer is done entering these headlines, typically maybe 30 to 45 minutes before a show, they pass it off to the director who marks it as MOS ready to air. This will send us the complete rundown and will also notify us if any changes happen while it's ready to air. Alright, so let's do the actual show. The producer starts by starting the timing bar in ENPS. They hit spacebar. That brings up this yellow prompt which shows you where you're at in your show. As you hit the first story, you'll notice that it lights up. This shows the viewer where you're at in the show and gives them an understanding of the rest of the stories that are to come in the show. As you hit a new story, the old story drops out with an animation and the new one comes on. It's really smooth and seamless. Now, we all know that news shows have a tendency to be hectic. So what if a story maybe isn't going to make it and you need to float the story? By floating the story, you'll actually see that the animation fires and an item will go off the screen. It doesn't look like an accident, it looks on purpose. Likewise, if you need to re-add that story back in, you simply uncheck it from being floated like you normally would, and the story appears automatically. The great part about the rundown is you can use it for more than just story titles. You can also use it for information. Say you have a traffic segment that's coming up and you want to tell your viewers how long their commute's going to be. Right here, I can update this from 45 minutes to say 35 minutes, and as soon as I hit enter, it updates immediately in the rundown. There's no time from updating the text in ENPS to it appearing on the screen updated. Let's talk about the last scenario, which is inserting a news story. To do that, I'm going to insert a new row into the rundown. I'm immediately going to float it. Now I'm going to type in breaking news as the slug. Maybe I would update the script, and then I would enter a rundown headline in. Perhaps, let's do high speed chase on I-15. Now, as soon as I unfloat it, the story is added immediately to the rundown. If I like, I can add a rundown qualifier, which can change the color or other presentation elements of the item. For instance, the breaking qualifier changes the color to red. And maybe this has changed my time of commute, so this needs to go up to maybe like 55 minutes instead. Now my show is all ready to go, and I still don't have any problems. So that's about it for the producer side. Let's talk about the engineering side now. Vidpresso Rundown is a completely self-contained system. It runs on a Mac, which has a discrete graphics card. That computer connects to this box called a Blackmagic Ultra Studio 4K. From there, you output a key and a fill signal, that means real transparency, to the switcher. Engineers will get this, so if you don't, just send it to them and they'll help explain. The great part about it though is it doesn't take up any of your already existing graphics channels. So that's about it. If you haven't yet, we'd love to talk to you about your specific needs and possibly do a demo. We think we built something that will keep viewers around longer and doesn't actually require anything else other than to sign up for the service. If you have any questions, email us sales@vidpresso.com, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.